hear us. Our African voices speak across a vast continent.
Our voices speak of many cultures.
Sustaining struggles for justice. Invigorating nations. Inspiring new lives.
Emotions charge contemporary forms with power.
Creativity fuels politics as well as art.
Some of our voices carry the rhythm of rural life.
Others resound with the tempo of the city. All our voices speak, each in its way, of Africa.
Today, our voices, African voices, speak from every corner of the earth.
In every journey, past and present, we carry Africa within us.
Hello, my name is Alicia Ortiz, Luisa Kiambote.
I'm John Fisher, and we're from Shaker High School in Albany, New York. Luisa Kiambote, what's that all about?
Well, I just said welcome in Kikongo to all of our viewers. Kikongo is a language in the Congo from Africa. As a matter of fact, we're in the African Voices exhibit right now at Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History.
And that's where our broadcast is going to be from today. We're going to listen to some interesting people, sing some songs, and see some artifacts. Hope you enjoy.
It sounds like a lot of fun. Be sure to sing along.
And we encourage you to join in. Please call the 1-800 number or email us any questions you have, and we'll be sure to answer them.
Joining us today is Dr. Michael Atwood-Mason. He will help you answer any questions that you may have. And let's go meet him right now. Hey, John, did you know that Michael helped to create this exhibit?
I did not, but I know he was part of African Voices Part 1.
Hello, Michael.
Hi, Alicia. Nice to see you again.
Hi, John. How are you?
Last time we explored Africa's diversity, long history, dynamism, and its connections to the rest of the world through a bunch of different case studies from around the continent. This time we're going to be focusing on a specific area in Africa. This area is where the Congo River meets the Atlantic Ocean. And that region has been an important part of African history for centuries, really. That area has three main countries. There's the Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is another country, and used to be called Zaire, and Angola. These three countries are where most of what we're talking about today will take place. And we'll also be talking today about two ethnic groups. Primarily, we'll be talking about Congo people, who speak Kikongo, as you were talking about before, and we'll be talking about Ovumbundu people. These two ethnic groups have played an important role in the history of this region. Our stories today will go into those same themes of history, diversity, dynamism, and global connections. So let's get started.
All right.
I think Amelia and Julius are ready. Hey, you guys ready?
Yep.
Thanks, Alicia. Hello, I'm Julius Gonzalez.
And I'm Amelia Persans.
I'm Ashley Miller. And I'm Mary Gibbons.
We're all from Shaker High School. These artifacts right here look pretty cool. It's going to be nice to learn about them.
Yeah. We have two people joining us today that will be able to tell us some more about this.
Joining us is Dan Dawson and Dr. Fukio.
Hello, Julius. Hello, Amelia.
Welcome, Dan. Yeah.
Hello, guys. So, Dr. Fukio, what exactly can you tell us about the Congo religion? religion?
Congo religions, personally, I do not like the word religion. Congo religion is a way of life and living. It is not, in that sense, religion, as I will say it. And this religion has a great impact, not only in Africa, but in the West, especially in the New World as well. Because we have to know that, statistically speaking, more than 40% of people who came from Africa to the New World came from this particular area of Congo, from a Congo kingdom.
I think that's very important, Dr. Fukio, because when Africans came from Central Africa to the Americas, they formed religions here also. So in Brazil, you find a Congo religion, or a few Congo religions. In Cuba, in Puerto Rico, in the United States, actually, the Christianity of the United States is very much influenced by the Congo. Many of the people who came from the Congo were Christians already.
Excuse me, Dr. Fukio. You said the Congo religion is, you believe it's a way, not a religion. Could you please explain that?
Congo religion is a way of life and living. This religion is based on one fundamental concept known as Dikenga. And where we are sitting right now, we can see this circle around us. It is Dikenga. This word, Dikenga, came from the word
We get a Dikenga up on the screen.
Kenga, which is a verb. And the Kenga means to protect, it is to shine, it is to flame. So inside this Kenga, you have what the Congo see as eternal light inside you, in the community, in the country. The closer you are to the core of the Kenga, the healthier you are. Far away you move outside of the Kenga, the sicker one becomes. So the Kenga is a crucial and a fundamental concept in the Congo religion.
I've heard cosmology in reference to this sort of thing. Can you kind of explain what that is exactly?
Congo cosmology is the concept that the Congo make about the world in which they live in. It is based on the apparent movement of the sun. The sun rises at 6 o'clock in the morning in the Congo and sets down at 6 o'clock at night. And yet the Congo believe the sun continues to go to the other side of the world. And they say this is to shine in the world of the ancestors. So the movement of the sun reflects life on the earth. We are conceived, we are born. The rising of the sun for the Congo is the time of birth in the physical world. And the noon of the sun is the position of the power. The setting is the change in the world, which is death, and then the death. So it is crucial, this concept in the Congo cosmology, because the Congo believe themselves that a human being is a living sun around the universe.
In other religions, such as Christianity, there are priests that perform various services. Is there anything like that in the Congo religion?
Yes. In the Congo religion, we have what can be called priest. But that is not the exact concept that the Congo have. The priest in the Congo can be called Nganga. But Nganga is at once a healer, a priest, and a political figure in the community. And yet in the Congo religion, everyone takes place when they sit down around the kenga, be it about a mambo issue in the community, or death, or religion ceremony. Each one in the circle sitting down takes place in the activities going on in the village. So we're talking here about a concept in which the whole collective living within the community have to participate.
I think it's important, Fukia, that we point out also that those priests are those of the religious specialists, because the word Nganga really means specialist when it comes to the Americas. And you find in the Congo religion of Brazil, one is called Candomblé Angola, one is called Umbanda. You find a priest also called a Tata Nganga. Tata is father, and it means Tata Nkisi. And in Cuba, in the Congo religion of Cuba, which is Palo Mayombe, you also find a Tata Nganga, a Tata Nkisi. So it's a common thing that comes to the Americas too. But we have the same type of figure in the United States. And he was called a root doctor who worked with roots and plants, which is part of the Congo religion.
So you're saying the Congo Nganga is found in various places all over the world?
All over the world, yeah. With a variation on the name, but it's the same personality and the same person doing the same function.
Are there any other sacred objects like the Nganga that are used during services?
The Bakongo have a series of sacred objects they call Nkisi single or Minkisi plural. And it comes from the word, this is what the Portuguese say is a fetish. But it's not a fetish, because if you look at the real word Nkisi, it comes from the word kinsa, to take care of. So it's a tool for harmony in the society, it's a tool for medicine in the society, for healing and harmony in the society. Fukia, could you tell us something about the Nkisi in the Congo?
Nkisi, sometimes this word is misunderstood in the West. We have to understand the root of this word Nkisi. The word takes place from root verb kinsa, is to take care of, is to heal. So Nkisi is truly medicine, but this medicine can be from plants. Words that we use are medicine for the Congo. Everything on this planet Earth can be Nkisi. And this word can be found in the United States. In the South, for instance, the word Nkisi became Gishi among the Gala people. It is the deformation of this word Nkisi that became Gishi, which means literally medicine. So the Gishi people, or the Gala people in South Carolina, by using this word Nkisi, it meant they were healing people. So they made up the culture of people who bring in the healing power. So Nkisi in the Congo can be seen as a medicine. It can be seen as a didactical tool. It can be also seen as a container. So it is very crucial word in Congo religion.
We also have Nkisi in the Americas too, but we can show some examples of Nkisi. This is an Nkisi from the Congo, the small wooden figure. And Fukia, could you tell us something about that?
Well, this small figurine that we see, it has a special heart, and this heart is only found on the Nkisi called Mpia. And Mpia is literally a flying medicine, a medicine that can be used to help people who are suffering at a distance, and even to rescue those people if they are in pain. So this small Nkisi, but very powerful.
Yes, we have some other Nkisi here also. And these are two from Cuba. They're called Mpacas. And if you can look at them, They're horns, cow horns, but they're full of medicine, of herbal medicine, of all different types of things from the animal world and from the mineral world. But this is called an impaka. There's another example of an impaka there, the beaded color, you know, the beautiful beading. And then there's another inkisi called a lucero mundu, or lucero of the world, a type of light of the world. But it's also used for divination. When you see the mirror, you see that it becomes it's a tool used for divination, for seeing the future, for telling people about their health and about their well-being.
Now, all these objects are used for healing?
Yes. And these three are from Cuba, and this one is from Africa. But they have the same purpose and the same historical root. You're interested in the role of the priest plays in Congo religion also, yeah. Pukia, could you talk a little about that? The role of the Nganga or the priest in Congo religion?
The priest, as I said before, plays multiple roles in the community, in the society as well. A priest is at once a healer, but also a teacher in the community. He is a kind of watch over people. While people are sleeping at night, the priest stands up at midnight to pray for the whole community. He has to walk around the whole village while everyone is sleeping. And also earlier in the morning, he's the first to stand up to do meditation and to pray for the village, for the activities that will take place. And the priest or Nganga in the village has many people who assist him in his work. So a priest in a Congo village has 3 times he has to think and meditate on his community or her community. At midnight, which is called Ndingwansi in Congo, at the rising sun in the morning, he's supposed to wake up. And at noon, which we call Nsinsa, which is the time when your shadow is between your legs. So this is a time to pray. And when the sun is setting down, going to the world of Bakulu. So those 3-4 times, the priest or Nganga has a very important role to play.
Fukia, we just saw a graphic of a priest with white pemba around his eyes, white clay around his eyes. What does that mean?
When a priest has his eye or her eye with a white circle, usually that happens when they have ceremony activities in a community. This means that the priest has the power to see not only with his physical eyes, but he can see with his spiritual eyes. So a leader must be able to see what the people see and what the people do not see. That is the meaning of that symbol on the eyes.
Mary, you had a question?
Yeah, what's a diviner?
A diviner can be seen, I think the word I will use in the West, like a prophet. It is someone who can tell about the future of the community, what will happen today or tomorrow. But he is also someone who can tell about the past of the community using the didactical tools that they used to tell the future or the past.
There's also an interesting thing about Congo religion, or Congo forms, is that Congo had a writing system. It's called Bidimbu, and that Bidimbu system had the Dikenga is one aspect of the Bidimbu writing system. When it comes through the Americas, as a dynamic form that is started in Central Africa, but you find it throughout the Americas also. Fukia, could you tell us a little bit about Dikenga and as a writing system?
Dikenga, you find mostly the Dikenga inside the institution of initiation. It was a writing form in the Congo society because all teachings in the Congo are based on the Dikenga. When there is any ceremony, people goes on the Dikenga. If there is marriage in the community, they go on the Dikenga. So the Dikenga represents the universe, and each one of us has his own Dikenga. Each family has its own Dikenga. It is on Dikenga, the core, the center of Dikenga, which is the flame. It is a way of writing the flame of life. That is what holds the families together. It is what holds villages together. It is that power on the center of the Dikenga that can hold a nation together. I will say, for instance, here in Washington, D.C., what holds this city together? We may not know it, but there is a center, the Dikenga of Washington, D.C. There is a force, and that force is called in the Congo Simbi. And the Simbi is the holding power of anything that exists. And for the Congo, if the Dikenga collapse, everything will collapse.
It's interesting because that writing system that formed the Dikenga also came to the Americas. And so you see a lot of examples of that in the Americas. In Haiti, for example, the Veve, although the word Veve is not Congo, the concept of the Veve that they have in Haiti is Congolese too. And we have some examples of that here. One is for a Loa, or a deity from Haiti, from the religion of Voodoo, for Ursuli Freda, and you can see the drawing, the symbolic drawing on the fabric. And there's also a flag for Ursuli Dantor, and you can see a drawing on that. That is also a Veve, which is based on the Congo writing system. But that occurs in Brazil also. We have it in Brazil, in Pontos Riscados. I think we have a slide of Pontos Riscados also, of a drawing point in Brazil. And we have it in Cuba with the writing style of Cuba too, called firmats. So that it lives in the Americas also, that Congolese writing style. I think we have some of our friends, John and Alicia, have some Dikengas to show us, or some ideas of Dikenga to show us.
Thanks, Dan. We have here with us is Miss Thaw from Shaker High School. We have some of our own symbols and the Dikenga that we came up with. Miss Thaw?
Thanks, John. We've just been hearing about the Dikenga symbol from the Congo region of Africa. We were kind of thinking about how that relates to other symbols that we know of so that our viewers can get a sense of exactly what we're talking about. Can you talk about that, John? Sure.
Here's the Dikenga that we've been talking about, but also we have the Jewish Star of David, the Celtic cross, the Islam symbol, and the Catholic cross. And these are represented in the same ways as the Dikenga as their main symbols in their religions. Alicia?
Well, just so you can get a better sense of what the Dikenga looks like, as you can see, it's a circle. The circle represents not only the circle of life, but the circle of the course of the sun. Over here is sunrise, and as Fukiao said earlier, that represents birth. And you come to noon, which would be your life, the peak of your life as adulthood, and then sunset is your death, and then you come into the darkness, which is your afterlife or your ancestry. And depending on your life, you may or may not be born again and continue the circle.
We were also saying how it's similar to, in other religions, Native American, for example, how it represents the cycle of the seasons and spring and being born and dying and going back. It's all very connected to many other things that you've studied. I think that Dan is going to tell us some more about the Dikenga symbol. Dan?
I think one of the best things about that is that it represents many different worlds. It can represent the life of a human being. It can represent the life of the planet or the universe. It can represent the life of an idea. So all things go through the phases of the Dikanga, and that's conception, birth, the zenith, and the decay. So all things that live or coming to existence go through that cycle according to the Bakongo. But there are quite a few different aspects about the Dikanga, and we have some slides to show you some different visuals of the Dikanga too. We have a phone number that you can call in to make sure.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but we have a phone call from Bloomington.
Beautiful. Thank you.
From Bloomington.
Hello, Bloomington. Hello.
Okay.
Indiana, are you there?
Yeah, okay, hi. My question is, did the Belgian culture influence the Congo way?
Did Belgian culture influence the Congo way? Fukia, could you talk about that?
Well, we know the Congo was colonized by Belgium. Of course, there is a certain influence in the Congo culture. But frankly, I will say, as to what the religion Congo is concerned, it didn't much change the way the Congo see their culture and their religion. And that was a big fact during the colonial time, especially when Leopold King was the owner of the whole country as his personal property. And that is why the teaching of the Congo religion went underground during this particular time. All initiations were done secretly because of the brutality of Leopold II, the king, during his power in Congo.
We'd like to show you some examples of firmas. This is the Congo writing system that came from Cuba, that's found in Cuba, then also in Haiti. If we could get the slides up on those. I think we want the firma from Haiti. Well, this is an Nkisi actually from Haiti. I mean from the Congo, and this is one of the Nkisis in the collection at the Smithsonian. So it's Nkisi Nkandi.
Dan, could I ask you a question about the Nkisi we just saw? The packs on it, what do those symbolize?
It's actually the same type of thing as this. They're medicine packs. They're medicine, and they're with herbs and plants and different animals. Because the Bakongo believe that every plant has a power. Every plant has an energy, and everything on the planet has an energy which can be used for making medicine. And so those packs are to give it power, to empower it, and to make it medicinal. So we have a firma from Haiti and a firma from Brazil. This is a firma from Haiti. It's for Simbi Makaya. And we were just talking about that, but this is a Haitian Veve, and it's the name of it is for Simbi Makaya, and Simbi Makaya is an ancestor of the leaves. Makaya is the plural of leaves, so you still get the idea of the continuation of the use of plants in that. That was Haiti. But I think we have a few more examples. We have a Haitian example is on the screen, but we have an example from Cuba. And this is a mixed example. On the left of the screen, you see a ponto riscado. It's a drawn point from Brazil, and it's for King of the Congo. The name of the force or the spirit that it works with is King of the Congo. On the right, you have one from Cuba, and it's called a firma. Firma in Spanish means signature, and it's from Cuba. So you get an idea that there's a continuation of the idea of being able to draw it with a visual language that has points of energy, and they attract these powers to them. One is Brazil and one is Cuba.
I know that we've talked a lot about family relationships and symbolism, and I think a couple of the students have an activity planned to discuss some of what we've learned.
That's right. We have Mr. Unknown from Shaker High School here with us. And we're going to talk about the impact of the ancestors on our lives.
Very good. I really enjoyed the broadcast so far, and I've enjoyed the opportunity to prepare with you guys. One of the things that really came out during the preparation was when Dr. Mason discussed with us about ancestry, you guys started to share some great stories about how that related to your own personal lives. Lisa, you had a great story.
Well, unfortunately, many members of my family have passed away. but it helps me to remember them by, when I pray, I imagine as though I'm speaking to them. You know, I kind of let them know what's going on in my life and make sure that they're okay. And then it also makes me feel better to think that when I die, I'll be reunited with them. And a lot of people believe that when you go to heaven, or if you believe in a heaven, that you will be reunited with your family members. And that helps, I think. And ancestors don't really have an impact on my life in the physical sense. I don't think they're with me or anything like that. I kind of like to think that they can see me. But some people like to believe, even in pets, you know, sometimes have an impact as much as a family member could. Didn't you have a pet that died?
Yeah, I haven't had any people die in my family, but I did have a pet, and my dog died, and she was really close to us. The way that we remember her is like any other family member because she was part of the family.
Sure.
We just like look at photographs and just talk about the things that we did with her every day.
Absolutely. Important people in our lives, and as they pass, it's good to remember them and still have a presence about them. That's great.
I think we have to go join Dan and Fukia right now.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Fukia is going to teach us a song or teach us a phrase in Kikongo so we can learn some of the Congo language.
Well, I will teach you a small song, and I will explain what the song means. I will ask you to just sing Sa Yelele.
Sa Yelele.
Again.
Sa Yelele.
So I will say a few words, and then you just say Sa Yelele.
Sa Yelele.
Okay. Kuna Mfinda.
Sa Yelele.
Kuna Zandu.
Sa Yelele.
Kuna Sikulu.
Sa Yelele.
Sa Yelele.
Sa Yelele. Sa Yelele.
This particular song, although it is sung in Congo, but it can be sung even in your school. Even those who are listening to us can learn the song. Kuna school meaning in school. Act intelligently. On the market, act intelligently. In the bush, in the forest, act intelligently. In your life, act intelligently. We are in the world in which we are a part of that world. Only us can take care of that world. And I wish you will continue to sing this song in your life.
That's a beautiful message, Fukia. I think we have a phone call coming in from Katie in Indiana. Katie, are you there?
Yes, I am, and there's also two other people. Does the cross and the Dakanga symbol have a meaning like the circle does?
Fukia, does the cross and the Dikenga have a meaning as the circle does?
I think this concept, I will really say it is not only Congo. And here we have to understand that we all came from Africa. The human race is a tree. And you and I, we are on the smallest branches on that tree. So as such, this old concept belongs to all of us. Each one of us is just a dot in the universe. And we can enlarge that dot and make it a circle. Yes, that's a cosmogram or the Kenga has a great impact in my life as well as in your life.
Before we introduce Dr. Hayward, I'd encourage you all to send in your emails and phone calls. And she's going to be teaching us more about the African trade revolution in just a minute.
Oh, we have another call. Hello. We have another call. We're trying to bring in our audience. You know, I think it's really good for our viewing audience to remember some of these songs. And the very song that we learned, Be Responsible in Your life, that's a wonderful message. And it's coming from the Congo, but it's a message we can all use in our daily lives right now. So, anything else you'd like to say about that? Yes? Oh. Well, you know, I think when the last question that we had, there was a question about the cross. Was the cross also important? And I think it's good to know that the most basic dikenga in the Congo is just a cross. It's a cross with 4 equal arms. So and that's called the oath-taking cross. If you had to swear on something to promise that you told the truth, you stand on that kind of cross. It's the most basic cross of all. And then there are other orientations to it, other elaborations of that cross too. But we have a call from Indiana. Could we? Is that call there? Hello, Indiana.
Okay. What role in society do women play?
I think the question was, what role do women play in the Congolese religion? Okay.
Women play a very important role in the Congo religion. When a female are initiated, for instance, as a nganga, they carry on their belly a tattoo made of dikenga. Only female carry that dikenga on their body to teach them, Mom, you have a belly and you are a goddess. Are you bringing in this community a belly that will curse the community or a belly that will bless the community? And the Congo believe that the belly, the womb of a female, is the first and the holiest temple of the human race. And as such, it cannot be polluted with drugs and all of this stuff, because that is the first environment in which a human being to be have to live in before he comes in the physical world.
I think it's very important. But women are very important also in the Americas. In Brazil, in the religions of Brazil, they're very important. In the religions of Cuba, women are very important. In some cases in Brazil, the women are the most important figures in the religious forms. But we have another call from Natalie from Indiana. Natalie, are you there?
Yes. We've seen some different similarities with Native Americans. Are there any more?
I think they're very much, the Congo religion is very similar to Native American religion. One of the reasons is that Congo religion is nature-based. It's based on the natural world. And Native American religion is based on the natural world also. Just as the Dikenga and the movement is based on the 4 moments of the sun, so the Inkisi are also based on plants and trees and rocks and minerals, and Native American medicine bundles are the same way. Also Native Americans, as we talked earlier, I think Alicia had done a drawing about a Native American wheel, a prayer wheel, and it also is very similar to the Dikenga. We have another call, I think. Oh, I think we're going to introduce Dr. Haywood.
Joining us now will be Dr. Linda Haywood, a sociology professor at Howard College. Welcome, Dr. Haywood.
Hi, welcome. How are you? That was a very good introduction.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what was the trade revolution?
What was the trade revolution? Well, the trade revolution was a time in the history of Africa when there was a shift in the 19th century from the export of slaves to the export of other products like rubber, like ivory, like beeswax, and other items that were needed in Europe. Europe had undergone the Industrial Revolution, and they were transforming their own economies, and Africa played a role in that transformation. The trade revolution also involved lots of different ordinary African people in economic development. They were the traders, they were the porters, and they were also the producers of goods. And this was a very different period in African history than the period of the slave trade. The period of the slave trade was a period when slaves were exported. The period of the trade revolution was the period when other commodities was exported.
Dr. Hayward, I've heard the term gold, God, and glory. What does that mean?
Well, this was used in the very beginning of Portuguese expansion into the Atlantic. There were three reasons that Portuguese historians have given why Portugal expanded. One was God, so that they could spread the Christian religion. Second was for individuals to obtain prestige, glory. And third, gold. And this was the most important, to obtain gold so that the Portuguese could in fact pay off the debts that they had accumulated. But this was an early part of African history in the 15th century. The trade revolution was in the 19th century. So the Portuguese and other Europeans had been dealing with Africans since the 15th century. The map of Angola that you would see here would in fact focus on some of the region, that Ovimbundu region that Dr. Michael Atwood talked about, that region included the states that would be involved in the trade revolution.
Dr. Hayward, who are the key players in the trade revolution?
The key players in the trade revolution were, first of all, the ordinary Ovimbundu people. They were the ones who were really generating the goods that came out. The second set of players would be the Ovimbundu rulers. The third set of players would be the Portuguese. And also, you might be interested to know, there were also missionaries there. Missionaries from America and missionaries from England. Okay, you can see that there are ivory and other items on display. And these items, in fact, you can see guns were a very important import from Europe. The ivory was very important. Europeans needed ivory for making piano keys, billiards boards. You can also see that there are beeswax. This was very important. And you can also see that there's a beeswax there. The rubber balls, these balls were produced or gathered by, the rubber was gathered and made into these balls, and these balls were carried by the African traders to the coast, and then they were exported to Europe. And rubber was used in some of the industrial processes to make different things in Europe.
Dr. Hayward, which of these items would you say was the most sought after?
Just after the slave trade, ivory was the most important item. In fact, if you look at the trade exports from Angola, ivory is the most important. Then by the 1870s, 1880s, rubber. In fact, in the history of central Angola, there's something called a rubber craze. Everybody wanted to get rubber. Everybody wanted to get their hands on rubber. This was the access to wealth, to prestige, and to power in central Angola.
What was at stake in the trade revolution?
Well, they were at stake. It depends on who you were in this whole process. If you were an ordinary person, you wanted to make sure that you accumulated goods and you became powerful. You can challenge the ruler. The rulers wanted to maintain their own position. The Portuguese, there were Portuguese traders who wanted to keep on having the power that they had in terms of their trade. And then there were the Portuguese representatives of Portugal, the government on the coast. And they wanted, this was a period when Europe would, what we call the imperial expansion of Europe. Europe would be beginning the notion of conquering Africa. This was when the Berlin Conference would take place. So you have to see all of these different categories of people would have different interests in maintaining a stake in this new trade revolution.
I think we have a phone call.
Oh, there's a phone call?
Yes. From Indiana.
I don't have anything. Edwin? Okay. From Indiana. What is your question?
How old are most boys when they're considered a man, and what ceremonies goes with it?
How old were the boys when they are considered a man, and what standard
ceremonies go with it?
And what ceremonies?
Ceremonies. Oh, young men, as they came into puberty, would undergo some initiation. And in fact, we find a lot of these young men sometimes going out and trade with a caravan, make your transition from being a boy to being an adult. And how old? What would they have to say? What ceremony would, as I said, I gave the ceremony in this particular period. Some of the ceremonies that Dr. Fukuyama spoke about would not really be relevant, because here you have people really going out to trade. And trade was then used as a sort of initiation. If you were successful in trade, you in fact became a man. And you would see a lot of men were involved in the trade. A lot of boys and men were involved in the trade. Then we have a call from Nicole. What is your question, Nicole?
My question is, what holidays do the Congo celebrate in relation to their religion?
What holidays do the Congo celebrate?
What holidays do the Congo celebrate in relation to their religion? The Congo, during the period of the colonial period, the Congos really didn't have a chance to celebrate any of their own celebrations publicly, as Dr. Fukuyama said. These celebrations were in fact very, people didn't know that they were being celebrated. But at independence, the Congo celebrated the time that they got independence from Europe, and they also celebrate in the villages. They would celebrate things like the initiation, things like the birth of children. So there were different levels at which people celebrated. Some celebrations were at a national level, some celebrations were at a local level. Now we can look at the cloth that was the cloth here, the cloth that was imported. As you can see in that cloth, some of that cloth would have local African bark, and some of them would have cotton, which is imported. And the Africans, in fact, imported a lot of cloth and, in fact, integrated the imported cloth with their local processes. I can also say that there were some of the bark that was produced in central Angola were exported to Europe and were used to make paper. So that's an interesting thing. African products being used in the industrial processes in Europe. Oh, we have a phone call from Wayne. Wayne, what's your question?
Did other cultures besides the Portuguese affect the people of the Congo?
Yes, there were several other Europeans. We had the Belgians in Congo. In Angola, we had the Portuguese. We had the English in different parts of the English were always trading. They never really got a colony in Central Africa. They did get Zambia, and Zambia is right on the border of Angola. So we did have other European countries involved in Congo and in Central Africa, Angola.
Who were the main traders for the Portuguese?
Who were the main traders for the Portuguese? Well, one of the main traders for the Portuguese was, in fact, a man who came to Angola when he was 39, and his name was Silva Porto. And Silva Porto was someone who had been very successful in the period up to the 1870s. He had been a successful porter. After the 1870s, he became very impoverished. And it was a period when these Africans are now competing with Silva Porto. Silva Porto, in fact, wanted the Portuguese to conquer central Angola, those states in central Angola. In the end, he ended up wrapping himself in a Portuguese flag and blowing himself up, lying on a container of gunpowder and blowing himself up. When this happened, this created a big stir in Lisbon, and that was the push that Lisbon needed to send troops into central Angola to conquer these states in central Angola.
Why would he blow himself up like that?
Why would he blow himself up? As I said, Silva Porto, at the time he was old, he was feeling very depressed. He has lost status in this new trade revolution. So he saw his sacrifice as something that will force the Portuguese to in fact come and claim their right to that area of Africa, because other European powers were also claiming parts of the Belgians were claiming Congo, the English were claiming Zambia.
Dr. Haywood?
Yes.
How exactly did Silva Porto live in Africa?
How did he live in Africa? Silver Porter lived, in fact, like an African ruler. He had his own village called Belmont. He, in fact, had slaves in those villages. He had other people who worked for him. He had traders who traded on his behalf. So he was very much, he had lived there over 40 years. So he was very much at home in that environment. And there were several other porters. So there were several other European traders in that area as well. There's a call from Michael. Michael?
Okay, do the children have anything to do with the trade?
Yes, in fact, we have lots of references to adults bringing their girls and especially their boys. I mean, at 9 years, boys are part of the trade revolution. They are following these caravans that go 200 miles into the interior. They go from Angola to Zambia. And these boys, I mean, they carry loads, 40 pounds. It's heavy, but they seem to have been able, in fact, the Ovimbundu were identified as one of the main groups who can go all distances, long distances, to bring out these goods from Europe. And we have graphics here of some of the people, the boys and men who were involved in the trade. You can see those graphics. Here's the village of Silver Porter, we had mentioned, Belmont.
In reference to the trade revolution, we've heard a lot about King Akwikwi. Who is he? Could you describe him?
King Akwikwi was the ruler of one of the Ovimbundu states called Bailundu, and he was one of those rulers who was interested in working with whoever came, whether they were Portuguese, they were American missionaries, or British missionaries. He wanted to control the process by which the trade revolution affected his state. So he was, some people might call him a collaborator with the Portuguese, but if you see it from Akwikwi's side, he was in fact making sure that he maintained power in his state. And up to 1893, the Portuguese did not conquer Mbailundu because they had good relationship with this king who you see on the screen, Akwikwi. There's a call.
How did Africa and, oh, I'm sorry, take the call first.
Call from Al. There's a call from Al.
Yeah. Did West Africa trade gold with East Africa for salt so they could preserve food?
In fact, East Africa had their own, they had salt in that area, so they didn't have to import salt. And salt was very important in the long-distance trade because when you go over a long distance, you use up a lot of your energy. You need to replace that. You need to have salt. So salt was very important. And the caravans, everyone in the caravan carried a small package on them so that they could have their own food. Or sometimes they brought a little child with them so the child could, in fact, cook their food. This was a very common practice. Now we have some, it's always good to hear what people who lived in this period thought about each other, and we have quotations, many of these people wrote about what was happening, and I'd like you now to read some of those quotations, and we can discuss what people were reflecting through these quotations.
I have a quote from King Akwikwi. The caravan routes are already opened, and as for the question concerning the Soba, we have already made peace, and there is absolutely no obstacles. However, I wish Your Excellency to send me a box of large envelopes for official correspondence, and 3 boxes of pens and 5 pen holders, seeing that here I cannot obtain them. I hope that Your Excellency to remember me as a freed, and not to forget to write.
Okay, now here we have a letter from Akwikwi. One does not usually think that before the colonial conquest, Africans wrote letters, diplomatic correspondence with Europeans. And here's a diplomatic correspondence asking for pens, paper. This was someone who was corresponding. These Africans had their own, they would have their own archives. A lot of the times when I found this letter in Angola, in the archives, when I did research there, I was amazed that these series of letters from these African rulers existed. So I was able to use it in the book I wrote on that area. Let's hear another quotation.
This one is from Silver Porter's journal. it says, presently, the Baliunos and Viennos have now become traders, and thus they are only interested in their own transactions. They do not care anything about the Sargentos, which are the Portuguese residents in the interior, to whom they owe disposition, despite the many financial harm which they cause them.
Okay, so here again we have a letter from Silver Porter. Silver Porter left a diary. He left this diary. I have several pages from the diary. And here he's complaining. What is happening here? These porters who used to work with me, now they are wearing pants. They're wearing shirts just like any European. We can't even get them to work for us. This is something that a European who had been in power would not be very comfortable with. And this reflects, in fact, the changing attitude of Europeans vis-a-vis Africans. Let's hear something from the missionary.
Okay, this is from an American missionary named Annie Faye, and this is about her opinion on the involvement of the Ovimbundu men in the trade. The chief occupation of the men is trading, and in this they manifest a great deal of shrewdness. A man will start off with 2 pieces of cloth of 16 yards each, with which he buys a load of rubber of 20 pounds. After a rest, he trades this rubber for more cloth at the coast. And after 1 or 2 more trips in the interior, he has enough capital to buy a horn ivory and a slave to carry it to the coast. He then makes double profit by selling the slave, or perhaps he may keep his for future use.
Well, again, here we have a very detailed analysis of how the Ovimbundu became important traders, capitalizing one item on another.
I was going to ask you before, how did America get involved?
How did America get involved? Americans came as missionaries because in 1880, the World Council of Churches allowed that, or asked all European powers and all the areas that missionaries could go anywhere. Some missionaries went to China, some of them went to Japan, and many of them came to Africa. So we had American missionaries, the Foreign Board of Foreign Missionaries sent American missionaries. Americans worked with Canadians in that area of Africa. And there were Catholic missionaries also from Portugal. So you had a competition between Protestant missionaries from America and Catholic missionaries from Portugal.
Well, my quote was from an English missionary, Frederick Arnott. This is his attitude about how the natives react. He says, none of the natives seem at all anxious about the Portuguese coming up. They do not even think they are powerful enough to hurt them. I guess this was how the natives didn't think the Portuguese were strong enough because they had always been their friends before.
Right. We have when Silver Porter committed suicide, the Portuguese began planning to come up to conquer Beer. And in fact, they were taking some time. And here's this missionary saying, these local people, they don't think that the Europeans are strong enough to conquer. They're saying the Portuguese would never come up here because we've been trading with the Portuguese for 200, 300 years. They have never come up and conquer. So he said, coming from England, coming from Europe, coming from America, racial ideas had changed. And these Americans and Europeans are saying now, these Africans are going to see a different type of European. They're going to see a European who would conquer Africa and who would replace Africans from their power, from their economic activities, and put Europeans in charge. And this is exactly what happened. Between 1890 and 1914, Portugal conquered all of that area of Central Africa, replaced the Africans, and in fact, got in control over the state. We have a call from Ethan. Ethan?
Is there any special meaning to the quilt, like the one shown in the display case a few minutes ago?
If there's any special meaning to the cloth, I think all Africans had local designs, local ways in which they express themselves. And as Foucault had said, these were messages. The Africans knew the meaning of these symbols. And a lot of times people say, oh, Africans never wrote. But they have to think Africans communicated in different ways. And drawing symbols, Africans use symbols to communicate. Sometimes it was to communicate with the other world. Sometimes it was to communicate a certain set of messages for political purposes. Sometimes it was to communicate religious ideas, etc.
So why is this story so important?
Why is the story so important? This story is important because when the Portuguese and when Europeans as a whole conquered Africa, they began a process whereby Africans, in fact, were replaced by Europeans. African rulers were replaced by European administrative officers. This began the colonial period in Africa. And this colonial period meant that Africans, in fact, lost the opportunity to develop Africa on their own. It is my firm belief that had the Europeans not come into Africa, those ordinary Ovimbundu would have begun and continued this trade revolution. There would have been a social conflict, and this would have created a dynamic change in Africa where Africans would have been in charge of their own countries. As it is, Europeans came in, they implemented colonial rule, and they replaced Africans. They did not give education in the beginning. They did not provide the skills that Africans needed, and this let Africa be underdeveloped. That is my reason for saying it's very important, this period. There's a call from Ian.
What animals were used in trading, if any?
What is it?
What animals were used in trading, if any?
What animals were used in trade? In this area, many animals like drought animals could not live because of certain diseases that attacked the animals. So in fact, what you had was human porterage. We had sometimes caravans of 2,000 people carrying goods backwards and forward between the interior and the coast. When the Portuguese took over, in fact, they said, these Africans are foolish. We could use drought animals. Every one of those drought animals died. Eventually, the only thing worked was to build roads, and the Ovimbundu had already opened out all those caravan routes. So the Portuguese only used the caravan routes to enlarge it, and they used African labor. Second, they also built the Benguela Railway. Some of you may have heard about the Benguela Railway. They built the Benguela Railway.
What was the impact of the end of the slave trade?
The impact of the end of the slave trade was to transform Africa, redirect Africans' energies from trading slaves to trading the new products like ivory, like palm oil, like cotton, like rubber, which were then in demand and industrialized in Europe. Because Europe was undergoing the Industrial Revolution, Europe needed raw materials. Some people explain the spirit of imperialism by saying that Europe wanted to get markets in Africa so that they could get the raw materials and then to get Africans raw material and send into Africa cheap goods.
Why is it important to know about the conflict?
It is important to know about the conflict because, as I said, many times we think, oh, these Africans, they couldn't defend themselves. These Africans, they allow Europeans to come in and just take them over. And I think that is a distortion. The Portuguese had been there in Angola for several years. There's no reason that the Africans should have thought Portuguese would have changed their tactics, even though they knew that the Portuguese, something was happening in Europe. They had news. They carried the letters from the coast to the interior. So Africans knew what was going on, but they did not think that the Portuguese would be brave enough, would have enough material to come in and conquer them. And that is why it's important to know about the conflict. That's a call from Kevin.
Did women help work trade?
I think it was, did women help in trade?
Did women help in trade? Absolutely. In fact, women sometimes carried as heavy loads as men, but the way in which the women really helped was that the women stayed in the villages and they planted corn, and much of this corn was used to trade, and the women also helped by making sure that, in fact, they could contribute to the economy. The women would go with their products that they made along the caravan routes, and they would sell the goods along the caravan routes to the traders who were passing. So this trade revolution was not only the long-distance trade, but the local economies were also affected by it, and that's where women were involved.
Excuse me, Dr. Haywood. Are there any situations today that are related to this?
Are there any situations today? Well, I think if you look at the status of many African countries today, and you said, okay, why is there always conflict in Africa? Why is Africa, and many people have said so, why is Africa always at the center of the news and it's all bad news? I think you have to think in terms of what Europeans had done in Africa during the period of the trade revolution to prevent Africans from developing at their own pace. And I think that's a lesson that this teaches us, that we have to know what's happening inside of Africa in order to understand the implications for this for Africa today.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting. So far, it was very interesting, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sorry. It's interesting to learn a lot about the Congo religion, you know, trade revolution.
I think Dan and Dr. Fukai are going to come in for a song.
Okay.
Thank you. I think before we go into a song, I'd just like to ask any of the students if there's anything in particular you learned about African or Congo religion that you want to talk about.
I found the Kenga interesting, how the circle of life, it's interesting that they believe that you can be reborn and the circle continues. I found that was interesting.
Well, I think we'll have Dr. Fukiao give us another song or another Congo teaching, a Congo phrase.
Okay, again here I will teach you a new song, very short one, and I will explain the meaning of the song. And I will ask you only to sing yo. Can you say that?
Yo.
Yo. Yo. So that's what we'll do. Okay. Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
Nabingulungulu.
Yo.
Nabintabantaba.
Yo.
Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
It is a very small, short song, but very powerful. Mwendo yo le literally means you are going to take bath. But this song is a song in initiation situation. And this means we are going to be initiated. But we carry with us everything we have. We go to the museum, we take our children, no matter who they are, small or big. We go to school, we take our families with us. When we are sitting in school, we have them around us. So in life, we carry everything we have. This planet Earth, the forest, the air we breathe, we have to be aware and carry all of this with us. When we neglect one single thing around us, we are in a process of destroying ourselves. Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
Mwendo yo le.
Yo.
I hope those who are listening us will learn also this song.
Thank you, Fukia. Can you translate the second line, or is it the same? Are we repeating the same line again?
We are repeating the same line, and Mwendo Yola literally means we are going to take bath. It is an esoteric expression meaning we are going to do any activities in our life. Na bingulungulu, bingulungulu meaning little pigs. And we know how pigs, small pigs act, which means they are fat and they act like stupid people. And Nabin Tabantaba, meaning little goats. And we know small goats run, jump, and so forth. These are the people who are crazy. But in the world, we have to live with those who are stupid, those who cannot learn, as well as those who do act in the society. We do not have anything to throw away. We have to go together in life.
I think it's really important to talk about the importance of Congo music, because the music from the Congo has become very important in the Americas. And much of the music that we dance to, much of the music that we live with is from the Congo. For example, in Brazil, the national music of Brazil is samba. It's a Congo word. The national music of Argentina, tango, is a Congo word. The national music of Cuba, rumba, is a Congo word. So we have all this Congo influence in the musics of the Americas. Is there a special influence that music has to Congo society?
Oh yes, music in the Congo society, when the people are talking in the community, even if they have a discussion, a decision to take, usually they will end the discussion with a song or a proverb. So in reality, songs or music in the Congo society are like a citation from a law book, since they didn't have written the documents. So songs, proverbs are seen as laws to be cited.
Well, Amelia, do we have a question from you?
You mentioned that there are a lot of the Congo music has kind of spread worldwide. Is there anything like that in America?
Well, when we say America, we have to be careful. We say in the United States, because America is all of this, you know. But yes, it's very important here. And if you think about the formation of American popular music, it starts at Congo Square. That's why it's called Congo Square. There are so many Bakongo people there. That's where we get rhythm and blues and rock and roll and jazz. Those forms come right out of there and go up through the Mississippi River to Chicago, and they spread elsewhere. So it's very important in the Americas.
Congo Square is in New Orleans.
Congo Square is in New Orleans, yes. Beautiful.
I was wondering, Linda, Dr. Haywood, if there was anything, if religion played any role in the trade revolution.
No, it did not. We have, it's interesting. I have looked at many of the documents, and I'm intrigued always with what was happening in the Congo. A lot of times people, I think one of the things that maybe spirituality, the Ovembundu men who went out to trade carried little packages with them. And this was a sort of charm. And they believed if they had this package on them, that they would in fact have good success in trade. Also, yes, the Nganga, because in this area we also had Ngangas. The Ngangas performed rituals at the beginning of the trade, of people leaving the village to go out to the long distance trade. So we did have in fact some religious influence on that trade.
I think that's very important too, if you remember that Lemba was also a trade society. Yes. Lemba was the great society of the Congo. It was a trade and healing society. Much of the information you find in the Americas comes from Lemba.
Have any Congo people live in the United States? Have they migrated to the United States like the way Congo live in Africa? Their religion, their culture, is any of that in the United States?
In the United States, there's a similar form of an Nganga. But the Nganga is the root doctor of the American South. So many of the things are the same in the American South. They look slightly different because just new materials in the Americas.
But I think one of the things, yes, there were lots of Congo people who came to the Americas, to North America as slaves. And today we find, in fact, Congo communities in different areas of North America. So there is a continuing Congo-Angola connection, because missionaries, for instance, American missionaries are still going to that area of Africa. And we have trade, oil. America imports lots of oil from Africa. One of those areas, oil producing, is in fact Angola.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for their help today. The students have been great, and I'd like to thank you, Dan and Fukia and Linda, for joining us.
You're welcome.
We've come back today to the African Voices exhibition. We've learned more about diversity, dynamism, Africa's connections to the rest of the world throughout history. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the Smithsonian Institution, the National Museum of Natural History, Project View, and Ball State University, and all of you at school participating with us. Thanks.
Our African voices speak across a vast continent.
Our voices speak of many cultures.
Sustaining struggles for justice. Invigorating nations. Inspiring new lives.
Emoting Emotions charge contemporary forms with power.
Creativity fuels politics as well as art.
Some of our voices carry the rhythm of rural life.
Others resound with the tempo of the city. All our voices speak, each in its way, of Africa.
Today, our voices, African voices, speak from every corner of the earth.
In every journey, past and present, we carry Africa within us.
Hear us. Our African voices speak across a vast continent.
Our voices speak of many cultures.
Sustaining struggles for justice. Invigorating nations. Inspiring new lives.
Emotions charge contemporary forms with power.
Creativity fuels politics as well as art.
Some of our voices carry the rhythm of rural life.
Others resound with the tempo of the city. All our voices speak, each in its way, of Africa.
Today, our voices, African voices, speak from every corner of the earth.
In every journey, past and present, we carry Africa within us.